Hey guys, in today's video, we're gonna talk about what to do when your Traeger won't maintain temperature. Super simple because it's all about pellets, cleanliness, and keeping that lid shut. Let's get started. Now, we know that pellets play a very important part in maintaining proper temperature on your Traeger. So let's dig in and we're gonna talk about pellets first, and then we'll talk about a couple other things that will affect the performance of your Traeger. One of the first things we should talk about is pellets as an ingredient. That's right, I treat my pellets like a food ingredient. As you can see here, I've got my favorite blend, those Ace Reserve Blend pellets. Now, I like to store my pellets in a cool, dry environment. When I don't have a cool, dry environment, I love to use my Stay Dry pellet bin. That works great because now I can store these under my Traeger, but I can also store them in my garage as well, keeping them cool and dry, which is super, super helpful. Now, pellets do have a shelf life. That is important to know. They have about a 6-month shelf life. That's when they are going to be fresh and wonderful and amazing and really burn perfectly evenly, giving you wonderful heat, wonderful smoke, and wonderful temperature control. Now, one of the benefits of always using Traeger pellets is Traeger controls everything in their pellets. That's right, from the mill to the grill, so to speak, Traeger controls that entire process, including the moisture level that is in your pellets. Because too much moisture, you're gonna be producing way too much smoke. Too little moisture, your grill is gonna have a trouble staying cool, if you will, and it will get way too hot. Now, let's dig in and show you the difference in fresh pellets and old pellets. One of the things, like I said, that is super important is the age of your pellets. Now, listen, I understand that when you pour pellets, from time to time, there will be a small amount of dust in there. But I'll tell you what, I don't want this much dust coming out of my pellet hopper. Now, here's the interesting thing. These are exactly the same. These are my Ace Reserve Blend pellets. Look at these, fresh out of the bag, beautiful, shiny, and very, very dark. You'll also see that there's not a lot of rough or expanded edges to these. They just look crisp and clean and look like they came fresh out of the mill. Now, as they start to age, wow, talk about a huge difference. Here you have pellets that have started to expand because maybe they've been exposed to a little bit more moisture. These pellets are very rough and jagged on the edges as well. And then what happens as they get rough and jagged, as they age and as they absorb a little bit more moisture, they also start to shed some sawdust. Now, a firm, compressed, fresh pellet is going to burn evenly, consistently, and give you wonderful smoke production, just like Traeger intended. Like we talked about as well, if you're not planning to cook or maybe you're traveling for a few weeks, I always like to take my pellets out of my hopper and store them in that Stay Dry pellet bin. So first and foremost, check your pellets. We want fresh, wonderful pellets, 6-month shelf life, making sure this ingredient in your cooking is fresh, wonderful, and delicious. I'll tell you, one of my favorite phrases is, looking ain't cooking. So keep in mind, if you're having trouble controlling temperature, the more you open and shut your grill, the more you're gonna lose temperature and your grill is going to have to recover. So I like to keep my grill closed. I like to check my touchscreen or my Wi-Fi controller or my temperature setting just to see where my grill is at. But I always tell people, trust in your grill. Keep that lid closed. Use that meter probe if you want to make sure that your grill is performing as intended. But every time you open and close, we lose all that temperature. So keep it closed, keep it cooking. One of the important things you want to check too is your temperature probe. As you can see, I'm out here on my Ironwood XL. Now, the new Ironwoods and new Timberlines have moved those temperature probes, kind of protecting them from the elements, if you will. But still very important to always make sure you check that temperature probe so that it's not caked with food particles and debris, greases, fat, etc. Now, I am going to also go back and check my older generation Traegers to make sure that whether it's that vertical probe or the old Ironwood probes, that those are not blocked or damaged as well. Your temperature probe definitely is a very important and vital part in making sure you maintain proper operating temperature in your grill. So I like to check my fire pot. I want to check the cleanliness of my grill and make sure that everything is running great. Obviously, time for us to give this a little clean, but definitely look into that fire pot. If your fire pot has some particles of pellets or crumbs, if you will, built up in there, want to make sure that is removed as well because that airflow won't be as smooth and consistent as it needs to be to manage that fire. Yeah, that's right. Fresh pellets, a clean grill, and not opening and shutting that lid all the time is going to make sure your Traeger performs perfectly. Now, the next thing you need to have a perfectly performing Traeger is a nice clean Traeger. Stay tuned. I've got that video coming up next.